Our next speaker brings her story to us from Baltimore, and it's one that won't leave me anytime soon. Let's give a warm Buckeye State welcome to Steph Gayhart.
I had anxiety for as long as I can remember. And for as long as I can remember, the way that I've dealt with that anxiety is trying to know and control everything. So it's no surprise that in the summer of 2019, I was thriving as a care nurse. I was running charge, joining committees, and growing into the leader that I was meant to be. Outside of work, I was enjoying the summer with my son, who was going into first grade in the fall. We went to the beach, we enjoyed sunny days with a sprinkler, and every Friday, we went out for snowballs with our friends. Now, if you've never had a snowball, that's a Maryland thing. It's just a cup of shaved ice with any flavor syrup you can possibly imagine, and if you're like me, a dollop of marshmallow cream on top. It's a Baltimore staple. Life was great, until it wasn't. On August 7th, I went to work and I was running charge, and I was waiting for so I could call my doctor's office. At 9 a.m. on the dot, my phone rang. Hey, Steph, it's Dr. Hatton. We got your biopsy results back. Alone in the back, in the break room on my critical care unit, I learned that I was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, and I would need radical surgery to save my life. Control mode activated. I spent the next couple of weeks focusing on my friends and family, the treatment of this cancer. I ate everything I could because I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to eat or taste food normally again. I taught my son how to say I love sign language. I'd be able to speak. And then on the morning of August 27th, I said goodbye to my life as I knew it. Over the next 12 hours, the surgeons removed half my tongue and replaced it with tissue from my arm. They took 26 lymph nodes out of my neck, put a tracheostomy in so I could breathe, and put a feeding tube in my nose. I slowly entered the waking world again to the sound of a respiratory therapist telling me to breathe and not fight the ventilator. And I must have fallen back asleep because the next thing I heard was a nurse telling me to open my eyes. How many times had I been in her shoes telling my patients, it's time to wake up? So I reluctantly opened my bleary, heavy eyes and looked around, and I realized I'm not in my room. This is a big space, a PACU of some sorts. And then I did sort of a head-to-toe assessment, and I noticed the bite block that was in my mouth that I knew would be there to keep me from chewing on my new arm tongue. And then I felt the rubbery plastic of the drains coming down my neck. And I looked at my left arm and I saw the inches and inches of bandages and the wound vac that I knew would be there to keep the graft safe. And then I looked at my right arm, and I had an IV and an art line, but my right arm was tethered to the bed. And as anybody who's worked in critical care knows, this is not uncommon because when people come out of anesthesia, we don't want them pulling at tubes. However, from a patient perspective, this is when I started to panic. Oh my God, how do I get in touch with anybody if I need them? I can't speak, I have this thing in my mouth, I can't even mouth words, I can't move my arms, what do I do, where am I, why am I here, what time is it? Oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Is 9 o'clock today? Is today tomorrow? Did I make it through surgery? Just breathe. The next week in the hospital was intense. Nurses like me had to clean and bathe me. Nurses like me had to keep me fed and hydrated through various tubes. And nurses like me saved my life when my trach plugged and I couldn't breathe. Gradually, I began to get stronger with their help. And on the 5th day, they took the tracheostomy out. And on the 7th day, I was allowed to go home. I cannot begin to describe the feeling when that nurse wheeled me through the front doors of the hospital and I felt that warm September air hit me in the face. Now, normally the smell of diesel and gasoline and a falafel stand up the street is not something that I would call refreshing, but in this instance, it was freedom. Over the next couple of weeks, I healed pretty quickly and I was able to eat and drink and do things that I wasn't sure that I'd be able to do again. And things were going great until they weren't. During surgery, they had found that the cancer had spread to the lymph nodes in my neck, so the next step was radiation. At first, radiation was just kind of a bummer and annoying, having to drive an hour downtown to have these treatments. But by the 10th treatment, I could no longer drink water without severe pain. And by the 20th treatment, I just wanted to give up. I let myself feel the sadness, the grief of losing who I was before. I let myself feel resentment at my body because why was it doing this to me? I felt mad, I felt angry, I felt everything. And then I kept going. By the time I finished treatment, my mouth was so red and raw, I had lost every taste bud that I could have. My skin was sloughing off, and I'd lost 30 pounds from starvation. But again, gradually, I began to heal. And in February of 2020, I had my PET scan that showed that I was officially in remission. Over the next couple of weeks, I gained strength in months, and then in April of 2020, I was cleared to go back to work. Going back to work, I couldn't go back to the bedside because of side effects from treatment, and I missed being a critical care nurse so much. But I found joy again in helping the nurses take care of patients. Things are going great, and they still are. I am now about to graduate from the Masters of Healthcare Innovation program here at Ohio State University next month. I am continuing to work as a nurse, now in survivorship care with people like me. And I'm still anxious. But now I know that whatever life throws at me, I can't control that, but I can always control how I show up.